Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I'm your host, Vince Edwards. You know me from Sound Image Productions, Facebook. I got a couple closed roadie groups on there, Death by Loadout, and the Backstage Pass. Check them out. They're kind of fun. It's mainly for us. Listen, this is in fact a special edition. The reason it's a special edition is we have some friends on that are trying to get a show off the ground. They're dear friends. I'll lean into that in a minute. Bear with me a second. Tonight, off to my right is my lovely, wonderful, special, very special co-host, Kyle Thomas. How are you, brother?
Not too bad, brother. How about yourself?
I am doing good. You showed me a photograph earlier of your chick went out on the ocean and basically emptied it. What the hell was that?
She slayed some fishing today. Yeah, I was surprised.
That was crazy, man.
They caught like 100 fish.
I was like, what the hell?
No joke. 100 fish is a good bit.
Yeah,
of
you guys,
fish.
we'll throw it up on Thursday's show. This
Yeah.
picture is impressive as hell. I mean,
it's
do you
incredible.
even have to like rent a space for that, or how are we getting all these fish into your home?
Ice chests. I'm sure you'll get some.
No, well, as you know, I don't enjoy fish, and that I won't be over to your house anytime soon because of the smell. I imagine that's going to take over the whole dwelling. But
Well, you know, more for me.
I know, yeah, you love your fish. So we've had a kind of a wacky week, and it's only Tuesday.
Yeah, it sure is.
Let's see, so what have we done this week? We had a giant camel show up here today. Can you?
2 stories tall.
It's a 2-story camel. Let's explain. So there used to be a radio station here in the Bay Area called KMEL, Camel, the Camel. And this was a big rock station, and they had something they called it was a promo piece they used for they throw big ass rock shows here in the Bay Area, and they had the thing they called the Beast of the Bay, and it was this giant camel, and on its butt it said Beast of the Bay. And
It was pretty impressive. It's huge. I've seen pictures of it.
Yeah,
just setting this thing
something.
up.
It's something. And of course, we had the wonderful, because we're always, doing and shaking and moving. We had Kenny Wardell in today, who's the godfather of the Bay Area music scene here. He's more or less the intellectual owner of the Bay Area Music Awards, also known as the BAMMys, BAM.com, a bunch of stuff, and he owns it outright. And
Dude, you got to check out some of his videos he's posted of the past performances. They're incredible.
the funny thing is he sent me one of, I want to say 1984. I'm with me and my brother with a band called Eddie and the Tide. Eddie and the Tide is winning the best live band in the Bay, the best new album, the best single. They've won 3 awards that night. So we're there. And I'm with Kenny, and Kenny's 40 years younger, so it's a very different Kenny.
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
and we were reflecting today on that moment. He had sent me the video, and it just was a time machine,
I watched him. He was showing me a
like
video, and he
36
got
years
like
ago.
goosebumps.
Yeah.
His hair stood up, and I was like, man, this is fucking cool. This is like
Yeah.
a piece of Bay history.
He kind of is. I mean, he's kind of the keeper of the memories, Journey, Santana, Sammy Hagar. If it was anything that made any sense, that did anything, they spent some time with Kenny doing the Bay Area Music Awards, which used to be quite a thing. And I think they're having some resurgence. We'll speak more about that later in the week, because that's going to be an evolving thing and so on. And then we had a situation where we confirmed some appointments with Rick Allen and his lovely wife Lauren Monroe, and they're going to come in. That's the drummer for Def Leppard, and his wife have a musical interest, and they're going to come in, and we're going to do a thing with them here in this space and turn this over into a multi-purpose. What it's really designed for is to be used in many ways, shapes, and forms, first live streaming and concerts and so on.
I gotta say, what an amazing woman that lady is.
Yeah.
She is like to the teeth, like a pure soul, giving money to a great cause and trying to generate funds to the right place.
Well, she wants to help out the crews, the techs. Def Leppard themselves did a thing with their merch that helped out their individual crew, and she became aware of all the other crews that are struggling and that don't have that.
Right. They
luxury.
sold all their back, if nobody knows about this. They sold a bunch of like clothing, guitars, and it was like $150,000 or
About
something.
150 G's they raised, and they distributed amongst their crew, which is just to help them get by in this time when Def Leppard was supposed to be out with right this minute with Motley Crue and Poison doing a world tour.
You remember the name of the tour? I forget. Slipping my.
I barely remember your name, but
yeah, right.
I got these cards that really help out. I tell you what. By the way, tonight we're live on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitch, and of course, don't forget we got our podcast now. Pretty much our whole content and library on Amazon Music, Google. We're on Pandora, Spotify.
No Pandora right
now.
We're on Spotify.
We're on iTunes.
We're on iTunes, yep.
We're on Stitcher.
You got it.
There's a lot of ways to hear what we do, and you should check it out. But without further ado, I would like to. So what we're doing tonight, why this is a special edition, is because I have a couple good friends. I have many friends in this business. That's what this business is about, is networking. And, you can't work with people for this many years and not share common goals and interests. And I have a couple good friends that got a TV show concept going on. One of them's been working on this for off and on in his head and in other ways for 10 years. We've got a little live clip I'd like to show you. Mike, you got to load that up to help kind of let it speak for itself. And then I'll introduce the folks involved afterwards. The show that they're presenting and they're building right now is a show called A Backstage Pass from the Crew. And we've got a little sizzle reel for you that we'd like you to check out. Mike, you got that sucker on hand?
When people ask me what I do for a living and I say I'm a stagehand, and they almost immediately always light up. And then there's a few second pause and they go, so what do you actually do?
Standing by, lights 111 and opening pyro. Lights 111 and pyro, go!
What's it take to put on a show? Just what does the crew do?
Are you kidding me? On a show, the crew does everything.
You can't really grasp what we do unless you're actually you're there to see it.
My crew is an incredible team, and they all take such great pride in what they do.
I've mixed President Obama twice, highlight of my career. I'm still stoked about that.
The longest call I've ever worked, I almost don't want to say out loud, but it was 72 hours. I absolutely have no idea how I made it through that.
I have definitely had some injuries related to work. Yes, this is a very dangerous industry.
We're masochists. Who would do this to themselves?
The client will ask you something that's completely ridiculous and you're like, okay, great, let me see what I can do. And then you gotta make a rabbit pull out of wherever.
I want to do performance-based work because in that audience, there's somebody having a visceral, cathartic reaction to what's been going on in front of them, and you may change somebody's life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, stagehands have to be the greatest storytellers there are.
It's a good job. It's a fun job. Even when it's bad, it's fun. 'Cause later on, you get to bitch about how bad it was.
Paz and I will be your hosts for the show, which will show you how the various departments have to interact together to make the event seamless in its portrayal to the audience, look and sound great, and run flawlessly every show.
Chelsea and I will take you through the process in entertaining detail.
A Backstage Pass from the Crew will show you that.
And so much more.
Well, there you go. That's a good example of what we're talking about. The host that you saw up here in that sizzle reel is Chelsea Gay and DJ Paz. And unfortunately, they couldn't be here tonight, but we have representatives for them. My dear, dear, dear friend, Doug Murray, badass production manager, stage manager, TD. If you want your show to go right, I can't say this enough. I mean, we bring him in when we got the big jobs, and we need it absolutely to be flawless. We bring in Doug Murray. His history spans Harry Connick, Huey Lewis, corporate affairs like Maserati and L'Oreal. I can't say this enough. If it's big and they need it to go right, they call Douglas Murray. And his good friend, Paul Harris, a lifetime member of Local 16, the brothers and sisters of IATSE, 30-plus career in the game. LD, for the most part, general badass all around, and the director of this project. And I'd like to welcome to the show. Hello, gentlemen.
Thank you, Vince. Nice to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Paul, thanks for tuning in with us, brother.
Thank you.
It was our pleasure. Dougie, why don't we give us a quick background of how you got involved with this?
Well, it all started about 10 years ago. It actually started during a coffee break. I sat around and I listened to people talk and tell stories about what they've done, things that have happened to them on the road, crazy stories that people I didn't even believe, and I'm part of the crew. And then I thought, every time I try to explain what I do to anybody, they're like, huh? Wait a minute, what? My parents, they had no idea. My relatives, anytime I'd be at any kind of a holiday dinner. So, Doug, tell us, what are you doing? Well, I'm working on a show, or I'm working on a concert, or I'm working on this. Yeah, but what do you do? Well, I set up the lights, and then I coordinate all the production aspects. What? So anyway, this was an idea that I came up with to convey what it is we do to everybody. Because let's face it, when you go to see a theatrical performance, when you go to see a concert, when you go to see a live TV show, people have no idea that there were people involved in setting the whole thing up. They just show up and the show's already lit, it's already got sound, it's already got the staging, and they have no idea how it got to be. So I thought, what a great way to explain to people all the individual departments that go into a show: audio, video, lighting, staging, camera, production management. All of those groups, just like building a house, contribute to getting the show to happen. So this was a way to convey the information, to tell people, here's what all these people do. Here's interviews with everyone in each one of those departments.
Very clever.
That's kind of it.
I understand the premise completely. Paul, what's your take on the thing?
For me, this is a love letter to the crew, to people I've worked with throughout the years. We're all characters, and I think a lot of people think they found their own when they got into this business. Every single person in this business is a character with a lot of great stories to tell, like Doug was just saying. For me, I started this project about 3 years ago, and then Doug and he gave me a call. He told me about his project that's been going on, which was sort of stalled out because the guys were so busy doing ginormous shows, right?
Right.
So we decided to throw in together, and we've been working on it for a while. The show, I think it's going to be really good because it's no bullshit. It's not meant to be polished, corporate, or slicky. It's meant to be gritty. We're going to talk about not only the upsides, the joys of like what we do, and the rush you get every time the curtain goes up or the lights go down. We're going to talk about other stuff that's real as well. Substance abuse, injuries, problems with families because of the long hours. So I'm really delighted to be working with Doug and the rest of our crew on it.
That sounds like quite a venture. Let me ask you about the composition of the show. Are the interviews, let me give this one to you, Doug. The interviews, how are you going to do them? Are you going to do them similar to how we're doing right now? Are these going to be in-field interviews, on-site interviews? What's the scope?
Yeah, the idea is to try to catch people while they're working at location, on a coffee break, on a meal break, obviously not when they're working, but to try to get a real feel for what's happening on location. We've been doing interviews now between Paul and I for a very long time and talking to different people in different departments. So we thought, let's try to show those departments in action while they're working.
Sure.
Okay? That's been the idea, but we also want to bring across the camaraderie and the diversity of the industry.
Oh, yeah.
The camaraderie. We're a family. Let's face it. I mean, we have the ups and downs that a family has. We have the challenges that families have. But we also, more importantly, pull together to make the show happen. And
Absolutely.
That's what this is. It's a look at all the family members. How about that?
I totally agree. It's kind of a brother-sister kind of vibe, the way at least that I've always perceived it.
Yeah.
And that kind of the commonality of the deadline.
Exactly.
Doors are opening at 8, regardless of whatever disputes or whatever's not, it has to get done. And you're going to try to go back and regardless of, so this isn't the show, if I understand the scope and sweep of the show, this is sporting, this is live concert, this is theater.
This is
like the corporate stuff, if you're doing some big thing for, Salesforce or.
This is every live show that you will see.
Beauty pageants.
It could be anything. It could be a fashion show. I like the beauty pageant idea. This could be fashion shows. It could be a live concert, a live TV show, live theater.
Yeah.
That's the great part about anything live. It's not like you can do it again or you get another take. It happens once, and that's what it is.
Sure.
And how people deal with, like Paul was saying, how people deal with when shit goes down. How do people deal with it?
Mm-hmm.
If all of a sudden we lose power during the show or there's some kind of a glitch with anything, how do people deal with it? How do you fix the problem?
You can capture some moments like that. Those would be gold. That would be great viewing. The run and gun thing that happens in our industry, like you said, behind the curtain stuff where it's just, magic really happens, and you got 42 seconds to make it happen because Janet Jackson's coming on, if you like it or not. And
exactly.
There's 30,000 people with 60,000 eyes looking at you that paid a lot of money to get this right. So that's a big deal.
Make the magic happen now.
Yes, sir. Paul, it sounds like you guys have been working on this concept for quite some time. And if I heard right, it sounds like you've obviously done some work in the form of having some interviews already in the can. Can you tell us about any of your first guests that you plan to use?
Absolutely. I went down to San Francisco and I interviewed a lot of my friends, people I respect and admire from Local 16. Now, of course, this show isn't about union crews or non-union crews. It's about the crew.
Gotcha.
I actually got about 30 interviews from different people down there. And we asked a series of questions that you'll see cut into some segments during the show. It was remarkable how similar some of the answers were and how diverse some of the other ones were. But we got quite a bit of footage down there in San Francisco. And we're also planning to go all over the country and hopefully events maybe in other countries as well. We have friends in New York, we have friends in Chicago, just like we all do,
That's right.
People you fucking run into,
Absolutely.
And we're lucky enough to have people like Richard Winkler, who's a 5-time Tony and a 5-time Obie award-winning producer and lighting designer. We have Rich Russo, who's the head sports director for the Fox network. We just have a lot of diverse, and that is one thing I'm proud of, is shadowing what's going on. We have a lot of diversity in the piece as well. We have a lot of women, people of color, gay people, straight people. I'm really glad that we were able to get the whole, spectrum of people into the piece.
All inclusive. Well, that's the nature of our business, and I like to think as music people or industry people, we are an inclusive people. Yeah. There's these barriers or some of the stuff that the nation's dealing with right now. We do not tolerate. If you can do the job, we don't.
If you like what you do, you're good at it, you have a passion for it, show up on time.
We want you around.
We want you around.
That's
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with more. Let me ask you, who, maybe it sounds like it might be a tricky question, so let me ask you, Doug, who came up with the idea for this show? Was this a joint?
This was a joint venture. Like I say, Jim Draper is our editor, Jesse Block is our shooter, Lee Bailey is producer, and then George Young is our writer. I just, started out at one point, and I remember looking at Paul's trailer and thought, you know what? We've got the same thing going on here. Why don't we combine forces? And it's been a great journey. I mean, I love this man over here. We've had such a good time together. There's input, and all of us work in the business. So there's been input from several different directions to kind of mix it all up and make it happen. But it's been a great ride, and I'm looking forward to more of it. I really am. It's a lot of fun.
It seems like you're coming out of the gate with a bang. I was admiring your sizzle reel. Let me go to Paul with this. Paul, did you direct that reel? And did you say Jim Draper was your editor?
That's correct. Jim and I did that. We had some input from the group thing. Vince, you actually saw the original trailer of this
I did.
about 2 weeks ago. Because I remember talking to you because I didn't want to step on any toes or anything like that. And you've been an ace through the whole thing. You've been so kind to us and so helpful getting this done. I really thank you for that.
It's been my pleasure. I will not lie to you. I struggle to say no to Doug Murray in any way, shape, or form. He is my dear friend. I have much love for him, and you're. You know, and so it's our pleasure to, you know, we believe already in the concept in our business as Sound Image is a B2B business. We will help out other shops regardless of the kind of perceived competition. And although initially, in all fairness to you two, and Doug knows this because we had a talk, I was a little apprehensive because the closeness of the name. By the way, who came up with the name?
It was a combination of a group effort, actually. I remember a phone call where we were starting to talk about, you know, it was from the crew, stagehand, backstage, and we went through a bunch of different iterations, but it was a democratic decision, actually.
Yeah, those are usually the best way. No, I get it, and there will be a little, you know, a little confusion, I think, for a minute. I'm not that big to, you know, my scene isn't that big, I think, to muddle your scene, but I think we can complement each other.
I think we can absolutely complement each other.
And that's the way I've decided that we should take this. And again, my love for you, and I know you would never do anything that was getting into my world.
I have the utmost respect for you and your brother. I've worked with you guys a lot. I enjoy it.
Yes, sir.
You know, again, it's that camaraderie thing. It's that family thing. It's that real love and real dedication to the business. So.
Well, and I feel exactly this. We feel I can speak for my brother on this and say that we feel exactly. You know this. We got a $12 million wedding, and we call you to run the damn thing. We know we know when we want something to go right. We can get the big dog. So it's my pleasure, Paul. It's my pleasure. Thank you for the compliment, and I'm glad to be of assistance in any way we can. I'm sure my co-host agrees with me. We're in this together, and I want you guys to succeed. And our little effort today hopefully helps push it out there just a little bit more.
Thank you.
I know it's a little undetermined. The reason we did a special episode, guys, to kind of explain, because of course we've got our Thursday show coming up, and we're actually doing 3 shows this week because we're going to let this young man go on a holiday in the coming weeks, and I'm going to put a show in the can with Scotty Ross, the Journey's guy, Dio's guy, the Who's guy, badass guy, and so we're working on that tomorrow, but when we'll have our normal Thursday show. But I know you guys wanted to get this out because you were thinking about pushing your effort, what you've collected, out between the 1st and the 10th, I guess, of October.
Exactly.
And if I want to get this right, I believe you're going to push that out on a Backstage Pass.
Correct. A Backstage Pass.
.com. Right,
Yes.
and that'll be the first place you're going to go. Now, if I understand, you're not a man of small vision. You know, you don't do myopic, you do the big picture. So I would imagine that you two young men have got a plan to try to take this to a network and try to push it out. I don't know, what's the thing? You talk about that.
Yes, we're very excited about the project. You know, it's something that has got a very wide scope, and we want to try to appeal to, you know, as wide an audience group as we can. You know, we talked about diversity, we talked about camaraderie, but it's something we'd like to present to as many different networks as possible.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense. Cast a wide net.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's a lot of platforms out there, in my opinion, that are looking for content. There's specific ones that come to mind that would be really a good fit for you. Maybe me too, and in my own right. And yeah, I'd like to see how that plays out for you. I wouldn't be surprised if you turned into some, you know, MTV thing or VH1 thing.
You know what? Right now, it's a big ocean, and we're ready to go fishing.